Hand of Fate, a very odd combination of games. You got a board game, you have a hack and slash, you've also got some roguelite elements. It's got everything. Believe it or not, there is a story. It's a very minimalistic kind of story, but there's a story nonetheless. You start off in this weird room. There's a dealer, he tells you that you tried getting his dagger. He stopped you, I guess. I don't know how or what he did. It's not explained. However, the journey to where you are right now is explained through the story and his cabinet. His cabinet holds a bunch of cards, and it's basically from Jack to King. You're fighting off all these guys. You're playing a game of cards, essentially. Now, while the story may sound a bit weak, because let's face it, it is quite weak, it's actually the journey he's talking about that's the real focus point on the narrative. It is told to you while in the board game phase. The gameplay consists of two things. There is the board, and there is also the player. The board consists of everything from movement all the way to the acquiring of items, potions, that sort of stuff. All stuff that will help out the player. However, sometimes you are forced into combat when you don't want to be in combat, which leads to one of the issues I have with this kind of game. You don't actually have as much control as you would like. It's very random. But the unpredictable nature of the game also is a strength as well as a weakness. It's a strength because it gives you much more of a challenge when you wouldn't expect there to be any kind of challenge. But it's also a weakness because you could literally lose the level that you're in simply because you weren't prepared, because it didn't give you a chance to prepare. Not everything in Hand of Fate is random though. You can actually build the deck to how you want it, and it gives you a higher chance of having that sort of control that you would like to have in a game like this. There are two decks that you can build. There is encounters and equipment. Equipment obviously allows you to add in cards that you would like to have, such as weapons, rings, armor, shields, that sort of stuff. While the encounters are all to do with what you will be facing in your journey towards the end of the level. You can also change the difficulty of the level from default to something harder or something easier in the deck building screen. The combat in the game is very Arkham style with a bit of hack and slash mixed in there. You have a lot of counters you can do, but you've also got, well, you've just got the general way of beating someone to death. Or if you're really lucky in your journey, you could either use one of your potions that you found or bought, or one of your artifact weapons which you found or bought. The potions do as they say they do. They have a limited use before they're completely depleted and removed from your character. However, artifact weapons, they don't have a limited use. You can use them as many times as you want, you just have to let it recharge. And each weapon has a unique ability. Some of them have AoE abilities, some of them recharge the full power of your weapon, some of them steal life and heal you, some of them even steal the same properties of another weapon that you could have got and use it in separate combat sessions. Anyway, that's enough about combat, let's go back to the board. The encounters that you face are very diverse. They're not just from point A to point B, fight some stuff and that's it. Some of them can give you information about the stage that you're in to see if there are any traps, anything that you want to avoid. Some of them require you to collect and then find a card later on in the stage to get another item, which could be very beneficial to your character. And others are a game of chance. You could walk away with the success of an encounter with either nothing or a blessing or an equipment, something that will help out your character. Or if you're unlucky and fail, you could either receive a pain card or a curse. The pain cards aren't as bad as you think they are, but they can on some occasions kill your character, or severely hinder you in what you want to do next. But the curses, they stick with you, and they can actually be more annoying than you losing 50 health in just one turn. They're like vagabonds, you want to get rid of them as soon as you see them. One thing I haven't mentioned about the encounters is how you obtain them. First off, you start off with a set number of encounters, and with each new encounter you do and complete with the criteria they want you to do it in, which they don't actually mention by the way, you get a token, and at the end of each level you open up these tokens which give you new cards. It could be equipment, encounters, or just special events. There is one card that leads you into a huge chain of other encounters. It's a card called Mr. Lionel. You meet up with this goblin in a bar, and then he tells you about this goblin maze, which leads you into the next stage of finding this maze. You do the maze 3 times, because you get 3 different encounter cards, one after the other. You finish it, and then you go into another maze with more traps, and at the end of it, you get a helmet called the Goblin King's Crown. And after obtaining this, it appears that almost every area that you fight in has a trap of some sort. But it's always good to have Mr. Lionel in the deck. He can give you a really good item for just 20 gold, plus the card art is a goblin with a mustache drinking some ale. I mean, how do you beat that? Overall, I really enjoyed Hand of Fate. I had more fun playing on the board than I did playing as the character in combat. I feel that the game's biggest strength is the board itself. That's where all the roguelite elements come in. The random aspect of the game, the difficulty, and ultimately the narrator, who did a really good job of tricking me and taunting me into encounters that I didn't even want to do, simply because there was a small reward, which again I was tricked about. Anyway, that's enough of me feeding the machine. While there were moments in the game where I felt like I wanted to quit, I still played it. Why? Because really, I actually enjoyed it. And with that, I recommend that you buy Hand of Fate.